I knew the moment I pressed send that something about that message felt dangerous. Not because of what it said, but because of how honest it was. The house was quiet except for the hum of the dishwasher and the slow ticking of the kitchen clock above the sink. I was standing barefoot on the cold tile floor, leaning against the counter with my phone in my hand. I had just poured a second glass of wine. My husband was still at work. Or at least that's what his last message said 3 hours earlier. Running late again. I stared at his name on my screen, Daniel, and felt that dull, familiar ache settle in my chest. The kind that builds slowly when someone you love keeps choosing everything else first. The office. The meetings. The endless later. I wasn't angry anymore. Just lonely. And wine makes loneliness honest. So I typed something I probably wouldn't have said out loud. I miss the way you used to look at me. My thumb hovered over the keyboard. I took a slow sip of wine, letting the warmth settle in my throat. Then I kept typing. Remember when you couldn't keep your hands off me? I almost laughed at myself. It felt ridiculous, like a teenager sending a risky text. But my heart was beating faster. I'm lying in bed wearing that black thing you like. I paused there, staring at the words glowing softly in the dim kitchen light. The bedroom down the hall was dark except for the small lamp on my nightstand. I had turned it on earlier almost unconsciously, like I was preparing for something that probably wasn't coming. Still, I finished the message. If you were here right now, I don't think I'd let you sleep tonight. My cheeks were warm when I read it back. It was bold, playful. The kind of message we used to send each other years ago. Back when a text like that meant he'd rush home. I smiled faintly and hit send. The message whooshed away. For a moment I just stood there, listening to the dishwasher water swirl and clink against plates. Then my phone buzzed. Fast. Too fast. I frowned and looked down at the screen. The reply was already there. 3 dots appeared. My stomach tightened. Daniel never answered that quickly. The message appeared. You have no idea how long I've wanted to hear you say something like that. My breath caught. I stared at the name above the conversation, and every drop of wine in my body suddenly turned cold, because it didn't say Daniel. It said Mark, my husband's coworker, the man who had been at our house for dinner just 2 weeks ago, the man who had watched me from across the table just a little too quietly. Another message appeared. Black, huh? I felt my pulse jump in my throat. Then the phone buzzed again. Now I can't stop picturing you. I should have corrected it immediately. I should have said it was meant for my husband. I should have ended it right there. Instead, I stared at the screen and slowly typed back. Then picture me a little closer. My finger hovered over send. My heart was pounding so loudly I could hear it in my ears. One tap. The message left my phone. And in that moment, something inside my quiet, predictable life shifted just a little off its axis. The 3 dots appeared almost immediately. Mark was typing. I stared at the screen, frozen in the middle of my kitchen, my wine glass still resting against my lower lip. For a second I actually thought about throwing the phone across the room. As if distance could undo what I'd just done. The message arrived. Careful, you're playing with dangerous ideas. My pulse jumped. I set the glass down on the counter a little too hard, the base clicking against the marble. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. This was the moment to fix it. All I had to do was type 1 sentence. Sorry, wrong person. 3 seconds. 5 seconds. 10. Instead I walked down the hallway toward the bedroom, my bare feet silent on the wood floor. The lamp on the nightstand cast a soft golden circle across the sheets, exactly the way I'd left it earlier. My phone buzzed again. Another message. Does Daniel know you send texts like that? My stomach twisted. Of course he knew Daniel. They worked in the same office. Sometimes they even carpooled to meetings. I sat slowly on the edge of the bed, the mattress dipping under my weight. The black slip I was wearing brushed softly against my thighs as I moved. He wasn't wrong about one thing. Daniel didn't know, because I hadn't sent him a message like that in, I don't even remember how long. The phone buzzed again. Or was that message meant for someone else? I exhaled slowly. He knew. Or at least he suspected. And somehow that made my heart beat even harder. My fingers finally moved. Maybe it was. The typing dots appeared instantly this time. Then disappeared. Then appeared again. I imagined him somewhere across the city, Maybe sitting on his couch, tie loosened, reading my words under the glow of his phone. My skin prickled with a strange electric awareness. Another message. That's a risky mistake. I leaned back slightly, propping myself on one elbow, staring up at the ceiling fan turning lazily above me. Yes, I whispered to the empty room. My phone buzzed again. But I'm curious. I swallowed. Would you still have sent it if you knew it was me reading it? The room suddenly felt warmer. The kind of warmth that creeps slowly under your skin. I sat up again and tucked one leg beneath me, the sheets rustling softly. I shouldn't answer that. Every instinct in my body knew this was the line. But the strange thing about loneliness is how quickly it turns into courage when someone finally looks at you like you matter. Even through a screen. I typed slowly. I don't know. 3 dots appeared. Then the reply came. Think you do. My breath caught slightly. Before I could answer, another message appeared. Because you still haven't told me to stop. The silence in the bedroom grew heavier. I could hear the faint sound of a car passing outside. Tires hissing on wet pavement. My phone rested warm in my palm. He was right. I hadn't told him to stop. Instead, I found myself asking a question I definitely shouldn't have asked. What exactly are you picturing? The message sent. My heart began beating faster again. And a few seconds later, Mark replied. You, sitting on that bed, reading my messages. I looked down at the sheets beneath me. My stomach flipped. Then his next message appeared. Am I close? And suddenly, it didn't feel like he was across the city anymore. I stared at his message for a long moment. Am I close? The bedroom suddenly felt too quiet. I glanced around as if someone might somehow be watching me. The soft lamp glow, the half-open closet door, the folded blanket at the foot of the bed. Everything looked exactly the same as it had an hour ago. But inside me, something had shifted. My phone rested against my palm, warm from the constant buzzing. I typed back before I could overthink it. You're very close. 3 dots appeared immediately. Then his reply came. Good. I felt a strange flutter in my chest. Another message followed. Because I'm picturing the way you tuck one leg under you when you sit. My breath caught. I looked down. My leg was folded exactly like that. A nervous laugh slipped out of me. You're guessing. The typing dots returned. Am I? Another buzz. You did the same thing at dinner that night. The memory came rushing back instantly. 2 weeks earlier. Our dining table covered with plates and wine glasses. Daniel talking loudly about a new project. Mark sitting across from me, quiet, observant. And at one point, our eyes had met. Just for a second. Long enough for something unspoken to pass between us. My phone buzzed again. You kept looking at me when Daniel wasn't paying attention. My fingers froze above the keyboard. Had I? Maybe. Or maybe he just noticed more than most people did. I leaned back against the headboard, pulling the soft pillow behind my shoulders. The lamp cast warm light across my legs, the dark fabric of the slip catching faint shadows as I shifted. My heart was beating too fast now. You're imagining things, I typed. 3 dots. Pause. Then the reply came. If I was imagining things, you would have corrected that first message already. My throat felt dry. Because he was right. Every minute that passed made it harder to pretend this was still an accident. I ran a hand slowly through my hair, staring at the ceiling again. The fan kept spinning lazily above me. My phone buzzed. Tell me something honestly. I hesitated, then typed back. What? The answer came a few seconds later. When you sent that message. A pause. Then the next line appeared. Were you hoping someone would answer like this? The question landed deeper than I expected. Because the truth was uncomfortable. Daniel probably would have replied with a thumbs up, or a tired joke, or nothing at all. But Mark was reading every word like it mattered. I sat up slowly again, pulling my knees closer, the sheets shifting softly beneath me. My thumbs hovered over the screen. And then I wrote the most dangerous answer I could have chosen. Maybe I was. This time the typing dots stayed there longer. When his message finally appeared, it made my pulse spike instantly. Then I'm glad you sent it to me. I swallowed. The room felt warmer again. Then his next message arrived. Because I've been trying not to think about you since that dinner. My stomach tightened. Trying. I wrote. His reply came almost immediately. Failing. My fingers rested against the screen, my mind racing. Outside, another car passed on the wet street. Inside my bedroom, everything felt different now. Then his next message appeared. Tell me something. I waited. The phone buzzed again. Is the black thing really what you're wearing right now? I read his question 3 times. Is the black thing really what you're wearing right now? The room suddenly felt smaller. I glanced down at myself almost instinctively. The thin black slip rested against my skin like a whisper. The soft fabric caught the warm light from the bedside lamp, casting faint shadows across my legs. One strap had slipped slightly down my shoulder while I was leaning back. I slowly pulled it back into place. My phone buzzed again before I could answer. You stopped typing. I exhaled quietly. I'm deciding if I should answer that, I wrote. The 3 dots appeared instantly. If the answer is no, you would have said it already. My pulse jumped again. He had a frustrating way of being right. I tucked my hair behind my ear and leaned back against the headboard, the pillow shifting under my shoulders. For a moment I listened to the quiet house, the ticking clock in the hallway, the soft hum of the refrigerator down the kitchen. My husband was still at work, and I was sitting in our bedroom texting another man. My thumbs moved slowly across the screen. Yes, the message sent. The silence that followed felt heavy. Then my phone vibrated again. I knew it. My stomach tightened. Another message followed. You wore that same one at dinner. I sat up straighter. No, I didn't. His response came quickly. Not that exact one. A pause. Then the next line appeared. But something like it. My mind went back to that night again. I had been pouring wine at the table, leaning slightly across Daniel's chair to reach Mark's glass. For a second, Mark's eyes had dropped. Just briefly. At the time I told myself I imagined it. My phone buzzed again. You notice me noticing. My breath caught. Because he was right about that too. I remembered the moment clearly now, the slight pause in his voice while Daniel was talking, the way Mark looked away a second too late, and the strange warmth that had spread through my chest afterward. You're very observant, I typed. 3 dots. Only when something is hard to ignore. My heart thumped once heavy. Another message appeared. Tell me something honestly. I hesitated. Okay. His reply came slower this time. When you sent that message earlier. A pause. Then the next line. Were you lying in bed like you are now? I looked down at the sheets around me. One knee bent. The other leg stretched across the mattress. The lamp glowing softly beside me. My phone resting in both hands. I could almost imagine his eyes in the room, watching the scene unfold exactly as he pictured it. My fingers hovered above the keyboard. Then I answered. Yes. The typing dots appeared. Disappeared. Returned. Finally his message came. Then don't move. My breath slowed. Why? I typed. The reply came a few seconds later. Because I'm trying to picture every detail. A warm shiver ran down my spine. Before I could respond, another message appeared. And the more you answer, the clearer the picture gets. My throat felt dry again. I glanced toward the bedroom door. Still closed. Still quiet. Then my phone buzzed once more. Tell me something else. My pulse quickened. What? His reply appeared. Are you smiling right now? A pause. Then the second line arrived. Or are you nervous? I read his question slowly. Are you smiling right now? Or are you nervous? I didn't answer immediately. Instead, I looked down at my hands holding the phone. My fingers were warm, my grip just a little tighter than usual. Then I noticed something else. My foot was gently moving back and forth across the sheet, almost unconsciously. A nervous habit. I stopped it. Then typed. Both. 3 dots appeared almost instantly. That's a dangerous combination. I leaned my head back against the headboard again, staring at the soft glow of the lamp beside me. The light painted a warm circle across the nightstand, catching the edge of the glass of water Daniel had left there earlier that morning. My phone buzzed. Tell me something, Mark wrote. Are you nervous because it's me? A pause. Then the rest appeared. Or because you're enjoying this. My chest rose slowly as I inhaled. Enjoying it. The word lingered in my mind, because the truth was sitting right there in my body, in the warmth under my skin, in the way my thoughts kept drifting back to the quiet intensity in Mark's eyes during that dinner. I shifted slightly on the bed, pulling my legs closer under the blanket. Maybe both, I typed. The typing dots stayed longer this time. When his answer arrived, it made my stomach tighten. Good. Another message followed. Because if you were only nervous, you would have stopped by now. I glanced again toward the bedroom door. Still closed. Still quiet. My phone buzzed again. Can I ask you something else? You already are, I wrote. A small pause. Then his message came through. Did you really send that message hoping your husband would come home faster? Another pause. Then the second line appeared. Or were you hoping someone would imagine it instead? My breath caught slightly. The question felt too direct. Too honest. I shifted again, this time sitting cross-legged on the bed. The sheets wrinkled softly under my knees. Outside, somewhere down the street, a car door slammed. The sound echoed faintly through the night. My phone buzzed again. You don't have to answer if it makes you uncomfortable. I looked at those words for a moment, then slowly typed. It doesn't make me uncomfortable. 3 dots appeared immediately, then disappeared, then came back. Finally his response appeared. Then tell me the truth. My heartbeat was loud enough that I could almost hear it in the quiet room. I glanced once more at the empty doorway, then down at the phone in my hands. My thumbs moved slowly. Maybe I wanted to feel wanted. The message sent. Seconds passed. Then Mark replied. You are. A pause. Then another message. More than you realize. My chest tightened slightly. Before I could answer, the phone buzzed again. Right now? The typing stopped for a moment. Then the final line appeared. I'm trying very hard not to drive to your house. I stared at the message until the screen dimmed. I'm trying very hard not to drive to your house. My stomach tightened so suddenly I had to sit up straighter. For a second I thought I misread it. But the words were still there when the screen lit again under my thumb. Outside, wind brushed softly against the trees near the window. The branches scratched faintly against the glass. A quiet, restless sound. I typed carefully. You shouldn't joke about that. The 3 dots appeared immediately. I'm not joking. My breath slowed. Another message appeared. Relax. I'm still sitting on my couch. I exhaled a little. Then his next text came. But the thought crossed my mind. I swung my legs slowly off the side of the bed and let my feet touch the cool wooden floor. The sudden chill grounded me for a second. That would be a terrible idea, I wrote. A pause. Then his reply. Probably. Another pause. But that doesn't mean it isn't tempting. I stood up and walked a few steps toward the window, pulling the curtain aside slightly. The street outside was quiet. Only the soft glow of the street lamp reflecting on damp pavement. No cars. No headlights. My phone buzzed again. Tell me something. I leaned my shoulder lightly against the wall beside the window. What? His answer came slower now. If I knocked on your door right now. 3 dots lingered. Then the rest appeared. Would you answer it? My heart thumped once hard. I looked down the hallway outside the bedroom. The house was still silent. The faint light from the kitchen stretched across the floor. My fingers hovered above the keyboard. I shouldn't. His reply came almost instantly. That wasn't the question. I closed my eyes for a moment. He was good at this. Too good. I typed slowly. I don't know. The typing dots flickered again. Then his message appeared. You looked toward the door just now, didn't you? My eyes opened immediately. I glanced down the hallway again without thinking. My pulse jumped. How would you know that? I wrote. His answer came a few seconds later. Because that's what I did when I sent that message. I swallowed. The quiet of the house suddenly felt louder. The refrigerator humming. The distant ticking clock. My phone vibrated again. You're standing somewhere in that house right now, holding your phone with both hands. A shiver ran down my arms. And part of you is wondering what it would feel like if I actually showed up. My throat felt dry. Because he was describing the exact thought I was trying not to have. Another message appeared. Am I wrong? I stared at the screen. The truth sat heavy in my chest. My thumbs moved slowly. You're not wrong. 3 dots. Then his next message came through. Good. A pause. Then one more line appeared. Because I just grabbed my keys. For a second I actually forgot how to breathe. Because I just grabbed my keys. I stared at the message while my heart pounded in my chest. This had stopped being playful. My fingers moved quickly. Mark. Don't. The typing dots appeared instantly. Relax. Another message followed. I haven't left yet. I leaned my head back against the wall beside the window and closed my eyes for a moment. My phone was warm in my hands, my pulse still racing. You shouldn't come here, I typed. This time the pause before his answer felt longer. Finally the message appeared. Then tell me to stay. I opened my eyes again. Outside, the street lamp flickered faintly as a breeze moved the branches. The quiet suburban street looked exactly the same as it always did. Ordinary. Safe. My phone buzzed again. Just say it. My heart beat harder. Say don't come. I swallowed. The words sat right there on the keyboard. 2 taps. That's all it would take. But something about the way this night had unfolded, the honesty, the attention, the dangerous electricity of it, made my fingers hesitate. Another message arrived. You're still thinking about it. I slowly walked back toward the bed and sat down again, the mattress dipping beneath me. Yes, I wrote. The typing dots appeared. Then his reply came. Why? I looked down at the sheets gathered around my legs. My voice came out softly even though I was only typing. Because no one has looked at me the way you did in a long time. The message sent. Silence followed. For nearly 20 seconds. Then his response came. I noticed you long before tonight. My chest tightened. Another message followed. At the office parties. A pause. That dinner. Then another. The way you laugh when Daniel interrupts you. I could feel warmth creeping into my face. I remembered those moments now. Tiny glances. Small pauses. Things I had brushed off. My phone buzzed again. You think I haven't imagined what it would be like to be alone in a room with you? My breath slowed. Another message came. Tonight just made it harder to pretend I hadn't. I leaned back against the headboard again. The room felt warmer now. Closer. Mark. I typed. The typing dots appeared immediately. Yes. My fingers hovered. This was the moment everything balanced on. The moment where the night could still return to normal. Or move somewhere else entirely. Finally I asked the question I hadn't let myself ask yet. If you came here, what would you do? The typing dots appeared. Paused. Appeared again. When his message finally arrived, my heartbeat skipped. Honestly? I swallowed. Yes. A few seconds passed. Then his answer appeared. I probably stand too close to you. A pause. Another message. And wait to see if you step away. My breath caught slightly. Then the last line appeared. Or if you don't. I read his message again. I probably stand too close to you. And wait to see if you step away. My phone rested quietly in my hands after that. No more typing dots. No new messages. Just silence. I sat there on the edge of the bed, the soft fabric of the black slip brushing against my skin as I shifted. The house felt impossibly still, like the whole night was holding its breath. Part of me expected another text. But none came. Minutes passed. The clock in the hallway ticked loudly now, every second echoing through the quiet. Finally my phone buzzed. Just one message. I'm not coming. I exhaled slowly, a breath I hadn't realized I'd been holding. Another message followed. Because if I did, I'm not sure either of us would stop where we should. My chest tightened. I stared down at the screen. The honesty in those words felt heavier than everything we'd said before. My fingers moved. Maybe you're right. The typing dots appeared again. Then his answer came. But tell me something before we pretend this was just a mistake. My heart beat faster. What? The reply arrived. Did you mean it? A pause. Then the rest appeared. When you said you wanted to feel wanted. I looked down at my hands. The room still glowed softly around me. The bedside lamp, the quiet hallway, the empty space beside me on the bed where my husband usually slept. My thumbs moved slowly. Yes. 3 dots appeared. Then Mark sent one last message. Then at least tonight, someone wanted you. My throat tightened unexpectedly. I didn't reply after that. The conversation sat there quietly on my screen, glowing in the dim light. Eventually I set the phone on the nightstand and turned off the lamp. Darkness filled the room except for the faint streetlight slipping through the curtains. Somewhere down the street a car passed. The sound faded quickly. I lay back against the pillow, staring at the ceiling, the echo of that strange electric night still humming softly in my chest. And the strangest part wasn't the message I sent to the wrong man. It was the one thing I never corrected. Because sometimes the most dangerous mistakes are the ones that finally make you feel seen.